What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Clint's Hot Props UFC Vegas 109 edition. Do me a favor, hit that like button, get subscribed, and let's dig into the best props on the board for this week's UFC fight. First fight that I want to talk to you about, Gabby Fernandez and Julius Stoleo. Gabby Fernandez by sub, plus 350 is interesting to me because we know Julia's only path to victory is that armbar, and we know she's got bad cardio, so if she doesn't get that arm, what is the alternative here in this spot? Now, if this fight stays standing, we've seen how hard Gabby hits. She probably just knocks her out. But if there's going to be grappling involved, Gabby is very, very solid on the mat as well. And what do tired people do? They tap. I actually kind of lean more towards the sub than the KO in this spot the more I look at it, just because I think Julius is going to be desperately looking for the grappling game. Yeah, you might get the TKO. You might get the official stepping in and saving her. So there's definitely chances for that KO. But more often than not, I think it actually might be the sub. The trick here, you guys, is to just play Gabby inside the distance at minus 130 rather than picking sub or KO. The KO is plus 140, the sub is plus 350. The minus 130 feels like a fair price tag to me for a fight that is lined minus 175 to go under 2.5. So getting the fighter who's more than likely the one who's going to get that finish at minus 130, yeah, that sounds fair to me. I do want to shout out real quick, I think we're going to get a knockout from my guy Cody Brundage. Props aren't out for that fight because it's a late notice one, so I don't know what that number is. It can't be great, but I think we're going to see a violent fight, and I do think he knocks out Chinny McConico. Joselyn Edwards and Priscilla Cachoeira. This one's interesting. I actually kind of have a bit of a hot take on this one. I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people are expecting. Joselyn Edwards does not have the most finesse takedown offense we've ever seen. She's a bit of a size bully. She's a bit of a weight bully. She likes to pick people up and physically slam them, and she's not slick like Jillian Robertson is on the mat. She's able to be had on the feet. She's you can connect, you can land on her, you can hurt her. We've seen this before, and frankly, you guys, she's in a lot of split decisions. She very regularly ends up in these very, very close fights. So yeah, she's fighting the best that she's ever fought in her career right now, but at the end of the day, she's still a 15-6 fighter. She still has, 5 split decisions in the UFC. I think Priscilla Cachoeira by decision at plus 500 is not the craziest thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. She's going to be landing the bigger shots, and as long as she can avoid some of the grappling, we've seen her stuff takedowns before. We've seen her kind of get out from under people who are better than Joselyn Edwards. It doesn't happen a lot. She is a bit of a fish out of water on the mat, but I think she's getting a big step down when it comes to the grappling from her opponent here in this spot. If she can just win a couple of these exchanges, the damage probably ends up swinging this fight. All she's got to do is avoid being subbed, and frankly, you look at the people who have actually submitted her, and it's Jasmine Jasudavicius, Jillian Robertson, Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, these are people who are very, very exceptional as far as their skill set goes when it comes to the grappling. Joselyn Edwards may have improved, but she's not on that level. So I think this fight is going to end up being close, and I actually think it probably goes the full 15 minutes, and we probably end up getting a split decision. So if you want to just play that fight to end by split prop and not pick a side, it's plus 350. I think there's a couple spots on this card this week where that is absolutely in play. Next up, I want to talk about my boy Juicebox, Julius Walker. I think he's just going to run through Sakara, you guys. We've seen that Sakara doesn't have a UFC-level skill set. We've seen he doesn't have UFC-caliber durability, and he throws flying knees and spinning stuff all the time. That's the kind of stuff that takes you off your feet. That's the kind of stuff that makes it real easy to go ahead and put you on your back. I don't think this fight's going to last long. I think it's Julius round 1, and that's minus 150. Getting Julius inside the distance is minus 200 or something like that. I think it comes early, you guys. I have a hard time seeing Sakara even get out of the first round against a motivated, fully camped Julius Walker. So minus 150 for Walker round 1, I think that's fair. Eric Anders and Christian Leroy Duncan in the next fight. I see a lot of people going with the CLD KO prop, and I get it. Eric Anders is a little bit slow, he's a little clunky, he's a little old, but at the end of the day, he's working real hard on his grappling. He catches second wins in fights regularly. He goes to his grappling a lot, which we've seen be a bit of a problem sometimes for CLD. Christian Leroy Duncan also likes to mine the space and tag you only when it's safe, or get up on you and try and clinch you up against the fence. This all sets up for anti-violence, in my opinion, unless he lands that perfect big shot and Anders is just completely cooked at this point. I think this fight drags for the full full 15. I think we get a competitive fight. I think we get a little bit of staring involved in there. I think we get a little bit of play it safe sometimes from both these guys. I think Christian Leroy Duncan by decision is probably the move. Minus 115 when the fight is favored pretty decently to get up and over 2.5. That sounds like the move in my opinion. Andre Feely and my boy Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod himself. You guys, I think this is the one where C-Rod kind of shows up. I think this is the one where C-Rod really lets everybody know that he's going to be okay up at 145 pounds. The kid's got slick boxing. He's got smooth hands, and Andre Touchy Feely has been knocked out already 4 times. 3 of those coming in the first round. Now, C-Rod hasn't knocked anybody out at the UFC level, okay? I get that. I understand that. But he's also been given a bunch of guys that are forcing him to grapple. He's had a sprawl and brawl game plan. He's had to survive early against these guys and then try to deal with them late, and he's gotten 10-8 rounds in that third before. So he could have TKO'd a couple of these guys if the ref had just felt like stepping in and waving the thing off. We saw Andre Feely make one of the worst bozo boneheaded mistakes in his last fight I think I've ever seen a professional fighter make. The way he dove right into that guillotine from El Costa to just go ahead and take home and call it a day, like that's a bad look, man. He's coming off of getting knocked out by Danny Gay in round 1, a split decision that he didn't deserve against Cub Swanson, and then giving up the sub to Melqueza Costa. I think we've seen the end of Andre Touchy Feely, you guys. I think it's just all over but the crying. We're seeing a lot of legends right now hang it up. Guys like Dustin Poirier, like that's this generation. These guys have been around forever, and we've seen Andre Feely go out there and start his fights very fast, very early, and have success in that first round, and then he just kind of fades off. I wouldn't be shocked at all if C-Rod really got going in this fight, and the way he's been lifting, the way he's been working out, you can check him on his IG that he's looked like he's put some muscle on. Like, I think this is his coming out party fight. Now, does it happen early? Maybe not, but he's got a bunch of round 1 knockouts on his regional scene before he made it to the UFC. He is up a weight class, so the power obviously doesn't transfer quite as much, but I like his hands. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if my boy C-Rod got it done by knockout, and at plus 500, I think I might have to take a little degenerate sprinkle on that in some way, shape, or form. Steve Ursig and Ode Osborne is one I want to talk to you guys about, because Steve Ursig by sub is a disgusting number, and that's because the UFC knows what's coming, and so do the bookies. Ursig is going to be able to take down Ode Osborne pretty much at will. Now, if he catches Ode with something big and early, like he can finish him, don't get me wrong, he can knock him out, but Ode is not a guy who you knock out cleanly for no reason. He's a guy that gets knocked out because he's tired. Once the fight gets extended, you can TKO him, that kind of thing. More often than not, though, he gets exhausted, you get him on his back where he's a whole lot less dangerous, and then you just work your way to an easy sub. Steve Ursig is a very strong grappler, you guys. I think that's the way this fight goes, especially up a weight class with Steve desperately needing a win to get back on track. I think he lands a submission at some point in this fight. That's the way to go. One fight that I did fail to mention before we got there, Yasmine Lucindo and Angie Hill. The fight goes to split decision as plus 200. Guys, it's an Angela Hill fight. Every fight Angie's ever been in goes to split decision. Yasmine Lucindo, she takes people down and she sits on top of them to the point the referee is actually going to remove the position, force her to stand up, and get them back on the feet. She's not super high volume, and unless she's got a crazy big submission grappling advantage from top position, which I'm not so sure she has here against Angie Hill, she's not finishing anybody on the mat either. So we could end up in a classic Angie Hill spot. Don't pick a side. Plus 200 for the fight to go to a split decision. That sounds like a plan to me. And frankly, you guys, Angie finally got one off of her back in her last fight where she won a split decision. I kind of think that was a dime in the bucket. I don't know that that's going to be a regular occurrence. She's older. Obviously, the UFC is trying to push younger phenoms. Yasmine Lucindo, very likely to get the nod here if this fight goes to a split. So Lucindo by decision at minus 135, I also think is probably a fair price. In the main event, I don't have a ton here for you guys. I do just want to mention that I think this fight ends late. You look at the way Anthony Fluffy Hernandez has beaten people. It's with that pressure. It's with that cardio. Now, nobody's ever finished Roman Dolidze, so the fight could end up going the full 25 minutes. However, this is frankly a step up in competition for Roman, in my opinion. He hasn't faced anybody that puts this kind of pace on people before, and we've seen how that's melted other fighters with similar styles and similar stature to someone like Roman Dolidze. So I do think this fight gets up and over, and I do think it takes a little bit longer for Fluffy to get where he needs to be, but I think it's a late finish, you guys. If you can find the combo 4-5 or decision prop, I think that's money. But I think the round 4 at plus 900, the round 5 at 10-1, those are probably fair to go ahead and take shots at if you like that. And then I do think he hands him his first ever finish loss, and how? By sub, because tired people tap. I think he finds his way to the back of Roman Dolidze, and Roman is just too tired to do much about it. So the sub props is where you get round 4 14-1, round 5 16-1 for those. I think the sub is probably more likely than the KO, even though that would be a bruised ego thing for someone like Roman Dolidze. I think he's just too damn tough. I don't think Anthony's going to put the kind of beating on him that it would require for the referee to step in. So I think he ends up finding his way to the neck one way or the other in a transition, in a scramble. And I do apologize, you guys. I'm running a little bit tired today. I missed one that I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about. Gene Matsumoto, round 3, I think is worth a sprinkle. Matsumoto is going to be fighting Miles Johnson. We've talked before about that John's gas tank. Yeah, it's looked better in recent times. Yeah, he popped for PEDs, and that's probably why. But Matsumoto is a very good prospect who keeps a very high pace. He makes you mix the grappling and the striking, and that's the kind of thing I think that can wear someone like Johns out. And every time Johns gets to like a contender level opponent, he does end up getting finished. So I actually like the Gene Matsumoto round 3 at 14-1. That's hot props, you guys. Do me a favor, let me know your favorite prop for UFC Vegas 109. Hit that subscribe button. Good luck on all your degenerate action. We'll see you tomorrow for the undefeated post-weigh-in show. Let's roll.